Hey, what is up guys, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be talking about Dying Light 2 because this week we have got some information about the game. Also, before we start talking about it, I want to invite you guys to my Discord server. I want you guys to join my Discord server because in my Discord server you'll meet more Dying Light players like yourself who like to trade weapons or discuss about the game itself. So join my Discord server and make sure to tag me and say hello so I can know that you joined the server. Alright, so this week at EGX, Techland had a panel where they talked about Dying Light 2 and it was the official gameplay reveal deep dive. So during EGX we didn't really get any new gameplay footage, but we did get some really interesting information about the game. So in this video we will look at some of these information. So in the first 10 minutes, Timon McDowell, the lead game designer at Techland, talks about the modern Dark Ages theme. In the first 10 minutes, he explains how they came up with the idea of the modern buildings with the medieval twist. And during the showcase, they also showed us some concept art of some modern weapons with the medieval twist. Some of these weapons are actually common weapons that you will find in Dying Light 2. Later, they also showed us the process of a biter turning into a degenerated biter. So here's a clip from EGX that shows all of that. Check it out, and then we will move on to the next information.
And you can see an example of that on the screen. So on the left, you see a water tower which stands in one of the central parts of Wrocław, our city. And because fighting over resources and fighting over water is an extremely important part of the Dying Light narrative, we wanted to have it in the game. So you can see the way it went from being a real location in Wrocław, being a concept art, and then being present in the city with the modern Dark Ages treatment. But modern Dark Ages is not just about the narrative. When you see a mall, a police station, or any other modern building, we either look for a specific shape in it or add wooden fortifications to it, and suddenly they all start looking like medieval fortresses, or medieval villages, or medieval settlements. Our weapons are primal and brutal, like something straight from Game of Thrones, but they're all made from modern materials. Even our infected are a part of it, as their look was directly inspired by medieval illnesses like black plague and leprosy. You will see plenty of modern Dark Ages concept in the demo, and the clash of modern and medieval is most visible there where it all starts, in District 2, one out of 7 unique regions that we'll have in the game. So let's go back to it.
Now after this, Timon talks about the blueprint modification that we will get in Dying Light 2. Like, for example, fire modification, fire with impact, electricity and impact, freezing mod, and finally the bleeding mod. Something we already had in the first game, but it has got a pretty different function here, at the same time a pretty different look to it. So Timon says that you actually have a control over the mod. You can actually turn on or off the modification whenever you want. So during a combat, you can choose if you want to turn on the electricity mod or you just want to use the weapon normally. So it's your choice. So here's a clip from EGX that actually talks about it. Check it out and then we will move on to the next information.
Like, for example, weapon modding. So in Dying Light 1, you could modify your weapon with a schematic for something which we called the electrical impact. Basically an attack which could, if you hit an enemy, he would fly over and some sparks would go flying. But in Dying Light 1, it was all based on chance. It happened randomly. So it was against the idea that we want to give you complete control over the action. We want you to feel tactical about it. So in Dying Light 2, effects like this need to be activated first, first you need to find a correct moment to activate them, to do it. But when you do it right, you always know what will happen when you swing your weapon, and that gives you more control, and that connects you more with the experience. So once again, let's see how this looks in Dying Light 2. So activate it, and then the effect.
Now after this, in the rest of the EGX, they only talk about the stuff we already know. So for example, like choices and consequences, double the parkour moves, these are the stuff we already know, so there was nothing special here. But during the Q&A part, there were some really interesting questions. So some people have asked really good questions, and I'm gonna actually play the clips of those questions at the same time Timon actually answering all of those questions. So I have picked some of the questions that was actually really good. So one of the questions was asking about the total number of endings and choices you're gonna have in the game. So this is what Timon said.
Okay, so there are quite a few different endings to the game. But to be honest, we don't obsess over them as much because the narrative is just one part of it. I think the biggest thing for us is, and we hope it will also be the biggest thing for the players, is the state they will leave the city in after they complete the game. Because this is where really the magic happens. I think all of us, or majority of us here, played a game with non-linear narrative that leads to one out of many endings. But there aren't that many games that actually allow you to change the world around you and the gameplay mechanics inside. And this is also very important for us because Dying Light 2, the same as Dying Light 1, supports co-op. And you can play the game in 4-player co-op. And the thing is that when you play the game, you always understand who is the host of the game, so you play in the world of the host. But then the next evening, one of the guys from your group can invite you to his own world, to his game session. And we hope to achieve, we hope to deliver on the promise that every player will have a significantly different world, sandbox space to play the game in. So yes, there are different endings. It's more than 3, but there are also different states and shapes you can leave the city in. And when you start looking at that, I would say they come in hundreds.
And the second question, Timon was asked if Dying Light 2 is going to get free stuff like Dying Light. You know how we got all these DLCs, 10 and 12 stuff. Will Dying Light 2 also get the same stuff or not? So to that, this is what Timon actually said.
Absolutely. So we plan to support Dying Light 2. The plan is to start with the support of Dying Light 2 on a similar level that we have reached with Dying Light 1. And of course, we want to take this further. So already we have, aside from the thing you mentioned and a couple of other things that people know from Dying Light, we have a strict plan how we want to support the game for minimum 2 years and a lot of ideas what we can do further. So absolutely, those things will make a comeback.
Now, another interesting question that was asked here was that, do we have a map like the following in Dying Light 2? Or will we actually get a different DLC for that? You know how we got the following edition for the new buggy vehicle? We didn't really have any vehicle in the first game, so this was a really good question if we are going to get a map or a place like the following in the base game of Dying Light 2. So this is what Timon actually says.
We want to keep it focused. So each city, there are no areas outside of the city. Also with the following, you probably want to ask about vehicles. So yes, there are vehicles in the game, but in the core Dying Light 2, they're kept to maybe not a minimum, but they are kept in quite constrained areas because we want players to focus on parkour. But no one knows what will happen after we release the core Dying Light 2 game.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
The next question was, do we have firearms in the game? A lot of people were actually confused about it. So here is what Timon says about the firearms.
So there are some firearms in the game, but they are very limited. It's because of the modern Dark Ages concept. See, the society have gone back like to medieval times. We lost the governments, we lost the technology as well. So basically, people aren't really able to produce firearms as we know them today. So there are firearms, but they are different. They have this DIY feel to them. And if someone has a firearm from the pre-apocalypse, it's basically like a sorcerer that has like a magic wand. So it happens in the game, but it's limited to so that like the real guns, rifles, shotguns, they are limited to specific moments where you really see someone extremely powerful doing something extremely powerful.
The next question was regarding the co-op thing. So if you play co-op with your friend, who is actually going to be making the choices? So Timon answered to that with this.
Yes, so this is something that we had a lot of discussions about in the studio. And yes, when you play in the host's world, he makes the choices. It's very important for us because then if you play with, I wouldn't say random people, but just people, they can mess the game for you. And because when a choice happens, the game saves and you have to live with the consequences. So we didn't want to allow that. So yes, the host makes the choices, but what happens when you play in co-op, you see suggestions from other members of the team. So this is a way for us so you can guide the host what you think he should choose, but it's up to him what he chooses.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
In the next question, we were asked about the collector's edition for Dying Light 2, something that everybody wanted to know. So this is what actually Timon said about it.
But yes, there will be a collector's edition for Dying Light 2. I cannot reveal more, but yes, it will happen.
Great, thanks.
The final question that I chose for this video was, is GRE making a comeback in Dying Light 2? The answer to that was yes, they will be making a comeback. Watch this clip.
Will the GRE make a comeback in Dying Light 2?
Can I say it? Yes, it will.
So guys, that was basically all the questions and info we got about Dying Light 2 during EGX. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. Also, the link for the whole live stream will be in the description. It is a Twitch link, so make sure you watch the whole live stream if you want to check more information. Maybe you don't really know more about the game, so you can actually learn everything about it from Timon. So go check it out. Also, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Good night, good luck.